Welcome to IP Concerns Deep Dive, the podcast version of our IP Concerns blog from Cascade Law Group. Here, we unpack intellectual property-related, real business and brand protection topics in a way that actually makes sense, no legal experience required.
Imagine getting, slapped with a federal lawsuit just because your local business tweeted, "Good luck, Arkansas Razorbacks." I mean, it sounds completely absurd, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you might think you're just, supporting the home team.
Yeah.
But in the eyes of the law, you might have actually just committed intellectual property theft.
Which is wild.
It really is. So welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are dissecting this fascinating legal blog post, which is basically a survival guide to the surprisingly perilous world of marketing around the spring college basketball tournament.
Yeah, and the backstory of this specific document is just fantastic.
Right.
The original authors, they actually held onto this post in their drafts for weeks.
They just sat on it.
Exactly. They were holding out hope that the Razorbacks were going to, go all the way and win the whole tournament.
A brilliant bit of hometown loyalty dictating a law firm's publication schedule.
Right. They were waiting for that big championship moment to really capitalize on the local euphoria. But alas, the Razorbacks' run ended in the Sweet 16.
So the authors finally hit publish.
Yeah. And what they released is essentially this map of hidden legal landmines. Because trying to get in on that spring basketball buzz, even with the absolute best intentions, it can land your business in incredibly hot water.
It really can. The complexity of these rules is just staggering once you actually look under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's unpack this. If we think of the NCAA's trademark lawyers as a basketball team.
I love this analogy.
Right. They're basically playing a championship-winning, suffocating defense. Right. They are fiercely guarding the paint. And if you, as a local business owner, try to drive into that lane without permission, you aren't just getting blocked.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You are getting swatted into the stands with a massive cease and desist letter.
Yeah, that defensive analogy holds up perfectly, especially when you look at how aggressively they protect their perimeter.
Right.
And that perimeter is defined by some highly specific intellectual property. So before we can even understand how you might, accidentally trigger a lawsuit, we first have to establish exactly what words are off limits.
The protected lexicon.
Exactly. The NCAA doesn't just own the television broadcast rights to the games. They practically own the vocabulary we use to describe the entire event.
Yeah, the source material lists out these strict trademarks. And it's crazy because they are phrases we all just throw around without a second thought.
Oh, all the time.
We were talking about terms like March Madness, Final Four, Elite 80, and my personal favorite, the Big Dance.
Right. And what's so fascinating here is just how deeply embedded those phrases are in our cultural vernacular. Everyone says them.
Everyone.
But we have to draw a really hard line on context here. If you are sitting at a bar talking to your friends, or say a local newspaper is doing a journalistic write-up of the weekend's big upsets, using those terms is entirely protected.
Oh, okay. So casual talk is fine.
Yeah, news and casual conversation are completely safe. The legal tripwire is crossed the very millisecond that commercial intent is introduced.
I see.
The moment you try to use those words to, sell something or advertise, you are directly in their crosshairs.
Okay, but I have to push back a little on the sheer scale of this enforcement.
Sure.
Let's say you own a local used car lot, right?
Mm.
And you hang up a banner that says, "Get ready for March Madness with these minivan deals."
A classic local ad.
Right. Why does a multi-billion-dollar athletic organization care about, Crazy Bob's used cars?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody driving past that dealership actually thinks the NCAA is officially partnered with Bob to sell 2018 Honda Odysseys.
No, of course not.
It just feels incredibly heavy-handed to send federal lawyers after a local guy.
It does. From the outside, it absolutely looks like Goliath crushing David over a cheap plastic banner. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to look at the legal mechanics of trademark dilution and implied endorsement.
Okay, trademark dilution.
Yeah. The NCAA licenses those trademarks to massive corporate sponsors. We're talking telecom companies, national pizza chains, major banks.
Big guys.
Exactly. And those corporations pay tens of millions of dollars for the exclusive, undisputed right to associate their brand with the tournament.
So if the NCAA lets Crazy Bob use the phrasing for free, The telecom giant is going to ask why they just paid $30 million for the exact same privilege.
Precisely. In trademark law, you either defend your intellectual property universally or you lose it entirely.
Wow, really?
Yeah, lawyers often describe it like a leaky bucket. If the NCAA lets one local car dealer use the trademark and then, a regional hardware store uses it.
Then the statewide grocery chain jumps in.
Right. Before long, the bucket is completely empty. The phrase March Madness just becomes a generic cultural term, legally speaking.
Like escalator or aspirin.
Exactly like those. Those actually used to be trademarked brand names. If the NCAA allows that kind of dilution to happen, their entire sponsorship business model basically collapses overnight.
So they ruthlessly protect the exclusivity so they can continue to sell it.
You got it.
Okay, so if the front door is locked by these heavily guarded words, businesses inevitably try to sneak in through the back door.
Right.
Using local promotions and watch parties.
Oh, constantly.
But according to the source material, the NCAA has completely booby-trapped the back door, too. Like, we aren't just talking about shady counterfeiters printing fake jerseys in a basement.
Not at all.
The blog post outlines this absolute minefield of good intentions where you can get sued just for trying to throw a fun community event.
Yeah, event branding is a massive trap for local businesses. Let's say you manage a local sports bar and you want to host a viewing party for the first round.
Pretty standard.
Right. So you print up flyers for the Big Dance Bash. You haven't used the NCAA logo. You haven't even charged an entry fee. You just want people to come buy wings while watching the game.
It's harmless.
It does, but the NCAA views that flyer as a direct infringement because you are using their proprietary lexicon to drive foot traffic and commercial revenue straight to your bar.
Wow. And it extends to local media, too, right? The text mentions radio segments.
Yes, exactly.
Like, if you run a local sports talk station and you call your Friday afternoon show a March Madness preview, you are treading on really thin ice if that segment is sponsored.
Oh, sponsorships are where the real danger lies for broadcasters. A purely editorial preview of the games? Just talking about the stats, that's fine.
Right.
But if your local radio host says, this March Madness tournament preview is brought to you by Joe's Plumbing, well, you have just inextricably linked Joe's Plumbing to the NCAA's trademark.
Because Joe's Plumbing paid for the spot.
Exactly. Joe's Plumbing is illegally piggybacking on the tournament's branding to gain commercial goodwill, and they aren't paying the NCAA a dime for the privilege.
Speaking of things businesses do to gain goodwill, the section on promotional giveaways completely blew my mind.
Oh, the ticket giveaways.
Yes. Let's say you run a hardware store, and to drum up excitement, you run a giveaway where the grand prize is a pair of physical, legitimate tickets to the Final Four.
Right.
You bought those tickets with your own money. They're yours. But the source explicitly warns that offering actual game tickets as a prize violates the rules.
It absolutely does.
But how can they dictate what you do with a piece of cardboard you legally purchased? I mean, you own it.
Well, because a ticket is not just a piece of cardboard. Legally speaking, a ticket is a revocable license to enter a venue, and that license comes with a highly binding contract.
The fine print.
Exactly. If you flip over any major sporting event ticket, you will find that incredibly tiny fine print. That contract almost universally states that the ticket cannot be used for commercial promotions, sweepstakes, or advertising without the express written consent of the issuer.
That is wild. You are literally holding the contract in your hand that says you can't do what you are doing.
Yep.
So you aren't just violating trademark law by calling it a Final Four giveaway. You are actively breaching a written contract.
And here's the kicker. The NCAA's compliance department actively hunts for this stuff.
Really? They have people looking for local hardware store giveaways.
Oh, yeah. They monitor social media for these sweepstakes. They zoom in to find the specific seat numbers being advertised in the photos, and they simply invalidate the barcodes.
Oh, no way.
Yes. So your contest winner shows up to the arena, gets turned away at the gate, and your business is left facing a massive public relations disaster on top of a legal threat.
That is brutal. Okay, so that brings us to the brackets. Every office, every local pub, every dental practice seems to print out tournament brackets for people to fill out.
It's a national pastime at this point.
Right. The grid of 68 teams is iconic. But the moment you put your company's logo on that bracket or place local ads around the margins of the paper, the hammer just comes down.
It really does, which forces us to ask how someone can actually own a bracket format. I mean, a grid of lines isn't inherently proprietary.
Right, it's just boxes and lines.
Exactly. What the NCAA owns is the specific commercial application of that structure tied to their timing and their event.
Ah, okay.
When you take their proprietary event architecture, the field of 68 teams, the specific regional breakdowns, and you wrap your commercial branding around it, you are monetizing their intellectual property.
You're stealing the vibe, essentially.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. You are creating the illusion for the consumer that your business has some official connection to the tournament architecture.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Out of all the traps listed in the text, the one that completely stopped me in my tracks was the congratulatory ad.
Yes. This one catches a lot of people off guard.
We touched on this at the very beginning. The idea that a local business can get a cease and desist simply for running a newspaper ad or an Instagram post that says, "We wish the Arkansas Razorbacks success in the NCAA tournament."
Right.
It just feels so punitive. It's like getting sued just for saying happy birthday to a celebrity on Twitter.
It seems wildly counterintuitive, I know, because the action feels entirely supportive. You are just trying to be a good community member, rallying behind the local university.
Exactly.
But again, the courts look entirely at the mechanism of commercial intent. They ask, why is a for-profit business paying money to run that specific ad?
Well, to look good to the local fans, obviously, to build a positive reputation so those fans come buy their products later.
Right, and that positive reputation is legally defined as commercial goodwill. The business is extracting commercial goodwill by leveraging the hype and excitement of the NCAA's trademarked event.
They're cashing in on the hype.
Exactly. The NCAA, the broadcasters, and the universities, they have invested billions of dollars and decades of labor into building the prestige of that tournament.
Billions.
So when your local business inserts its logo next to a message about the tournament, you are essentially taking a free ride on their billion-dollar investment. You are standing in their incredibly expensive spotlight to eliminate your own brand, and you aren't paying the electric bill.
Wow, that is a great way to put it. Standing in their spotlight. Which means the only safe place to stand is, completely off the stage.
Pretty much.
But the source material introduces this massive complication to this entire landscape. Just when you wrap your head around the strict boundaries of trademark law, there is a relatively new variable that makes this whole equation infinitely more complex.
Oh, boy.
We need to talk about the athletes.
Yes, the introduction of name, image, and likeness rules, commonly known as NIL. This policy shift has completely rewritten the physics of sports marketing.
As anyone following sports knows, since 2021, student athletes are finally allowed to monetize themselves.
Which is a huge shift.
Huge. They can sign autographs for money, appear in local car commercials, become paid influencers on TikTok. We all know the basics of NIL by now, but the blog post highlights a fascinating legal collision that occurs when a business tries to actually film one of these commercials.
Right, because this raises an incredibly important question about the intersection of different branches of intellectual property law.
Okay.
When you hire a college athlete for a commercial, you are engaging with their right of publicity. That is the legal doctrine that says a person has the right to control and profit from the commercial use of their own identity. Their face, their name, their signature.
So what does this all actually mean for the business owner? Let's say I own that local used car lot, and I pay the star point guard of the Razorbacks $10,000 to come shoot a commercial on my lot.
Okay.
I paid the player legally under the new NIL rules. But the second that point guard puts on his actual game jersey for the camera, I am suddenly violating the law.
The commercial comes to a screeching halt.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because while the athlete owns their face under the right of publicity, the university, and by extension the NCAA, owns the uniform under trademark law.
Whoa, wow.
The logo on the chest, the specific color scheme, the mascot name, those are registered trademarks. The player's right of publicity does not override the university's trademark rights.
So the player can't just authorize it?
Nope. You cannot freely use those university assets in your local advertisement just because the player happens to be wearing them.
It creates this completely bizarre visual reality in local advertising then. You have this incredibly famous athlete, a person whose entire public identity is based on playing basketball for a specific university, and they have to stand next to a used minivan wearing a completely plain, unbranded, generic red t-shirt.
Exactly, just a blank shirt.
Because if there's even a hint of a Razorback logo, the dealership gets sued. It's a total paradox. You're buying their fame, but you aren't allowed to show the uniform that actually made them famous.
It is a profound legal paradox. And navigating it is a massive compliance headache for businesses because you aren't just dealing with a unified national rulebook like you are with the NCAA's trademarked words.
Right. It's not just one set of rules.
Not at all. The source material emphasizes that NIL permissions and rules vary wildly depending on exactly where you are. We are looking at a highly fractured landscape of state-by-state laws and individual university guidelines.
The logistics sound absolutely nightmarish. I mean, if you are a national brand trying to do a campaign with 5 different players from 5 different states.
You are dealing with 5 completely different legal frameworks.
Good grief.
Some state laws expressly forbid athletes from wearing university marks in any NIL deals. Other states leave it entirely up to the individual university to decide.
And I'm sure the universities are super relaxed about it.
Oh, completely. No, those universities have their own massive compliance departments. A school might say, yes, you can use our logo in your commercial with our point guard, but only if your business does not conflict with our official university sponsors.
Ah, the sponsors again.
Always. So if the school is sponsored by a major national bank, the athlete cannot wear their jersey in a commercial for a local credit union.
It demands an incredible amount of critical thinking before you even turn a camera on. You can't just assume that because a college athlete signed a contract and said, yes, you have the green light to start filming.
Exactly.
You have to audit state laws, cross-reference university compliance manuals, and untangle right of publicity from trademark law. If you miss one step, you are right back to stepping on the legal landmines we discussed earlier.
Which is why the legal counsel for any brand engaging in NIL has to be incredibly meticulous. The athlete is a free agent for their own face, but they are heavily restricted employees when it comes to the intellectual property they wear.
Okay, so with the NCAA locking down the terminology, the bracket margins being heavily guarded, and the school uniforms tangled in this crazy web of state laws, how on earth can a business safely tap into the spring basketball hype?
It feels impossible, doesn't it?
It does, because despite all these rules, we still see thousands of businesses marketing around this time of year without getting sued into oblivion. There has to be a safe path through the minefield.
There is a safe path, actually, and it relies entirely on the legal distinction between proprietary phrasing and descriptive phrasing.
Okay, descriptive phrasing.
Yeah. Businesses navigate this by utilizing generic workarounds. They participate in the cultural energy of the event without ever crossing the threshold into official intellectual property.
The safe words. The blog post actually gives us a few of these brilliant workarounds.
They're great.
Instead of using the trademark terms we discussed at the top of the show, a business will use phrases like tournament time, or the big game, or the most popular one, college hoops.
College hoops is the perfect example of descriptive phrasing. No single entity can trademark the abstract concept of playing basketball at a collegiate level.
Because it's just a thing that happens.
Right. It is a factual description of an activity. By using these generic terms, your local sports bar or hardware store can send a massive flashing signal to the consumer. Hey, we know this incredibly exciting basketball event is happening right now. Come celebrate it with us.
But legally, they're safe.
Completely safe. You capture the momentum of the season, but legally, you have never implied that the NCAA has endorsed your buffalo wings or your power tools.
It is the ultimate marketing loophole. It's like throwing a massive rowdy party right next door to an exclusive VIP nightclub. You can hear the bass thumping through the walls, your guests can feel the energy of the event, but you are never explicitly claiming to be on the official guest list. You just keep your distance.
That's a great way to look at it. Clarity and separation are your best defense. Keep your advertising entirely distinct from anything official. You can be incredibly creative. Use generic basketball imagery, lean into the seasonal themes, hype up the concept of a tournament, but avoid the NCAA's specific trademarks like the plague unless you have a multi-million-dollar licensing deal.
Which most local places do not.
No, they don't. And as the authors of our source material wisely note, when in doubt, leave it out.
Sending a quick email to a trademark law firm to review your marketing flyer is always going to be cheaper than defending yourself against a federal infringement lawsuit.
Oh, absolutely.
And for you listening to this, whether you are a small business owner trying to drive some foot traffic this spring, or you work in marketing, or even if you just enjoy understanding the hidden mechanics of the advertising world, you now have this entirely new insider lens.
It really changes things.
It does. The next time you see a commercial break in March or April, You'll be able to spot exactly which giant corporations paid the massive fees for the official rights and which clever local businesses are using the phrase college hoops to sprint right up to the legal line without stepping over it.
It entirely changes how you consume media during the tournament. You stop watching the ads for the products and start watching them for the legal gymnastics.
It really is like seeing the code of the Matrix. So, to recap our deep dive today, we started with a law firm's blog post, delayed by the Razorbacks' early exit, which opened our eyes to the fiercely protected lexicon of terms like the big dance.
Right, the lockdown words.
Then we navigated the surprisingly treacherous traps of brackets, watch parties, and congratulatory ads, where we learned how good intentions can easily become illegal, commercial-free writing.
The leaky bucket.
Exactly. Then we untangled the complex collision of name, image, and likeness rules, discovering that an athlete can sell their face, but trademark law still owns the jersey on their back.
The uniform paradox.
Yeah. And finally, we looked at the safe havens, the generic, descriptive language that lets everyone legally join the cultural party.
It is a dense ecosystem for sure, but once you understand the underlying mechanisms of trademark dilution and implied endorsement, the boundaries become entirely visible.
They really do. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. Building on that clash between athlete rights and NCAA trademarks.
Oh.
Right now, as we've discussed, the NCAA holds the ultimate trump card with its event trademarks, forcing athletes into unbranded T-shirts for local ads.
Right.
But under the new NIL rules, student-athletes are building massive, highly lucrative personal followings, sometimes with millions of loyal social media fans who care way more about the player than the actual school.
That's very true.
So will we ever reach a tipping point? Is there a future where an individual star athlete's personal brand and right of publicity actually holds more marketing power and consumer draw than the NCAA's official tournament trademarks? And if that day comes, how will that shift in leverage completely rewrite the legal playbook for college sports?
Man, that is a truly disruptive concept. If the gravitational pull shifts from the institution to the individual, the entire economic structure of the sport will have to be completely renegotiated.
Definitely something to keep an eye on as the landscape evolves. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, out there in the marketing world, the defense is always guarding the paint. Don't drive the lane unless you know the rules. We'll catch you next time.